It's actually happening. Now we have multiple confirmed sources. Oh boy, do we have a lot to talk about. What's up, world? We're here back again with another video. Today we're checking out all things Starfield, specifically the Starfield rumors around the showcase and a couple of accounts there and what's going on with that. And I know people in my last video were saying that one of the sources that I used wasn't very credible, and I completely understand that. I've kind of looked into him and he isn't as credible as I would have hoped for. Or at least what I thought was the case. But now we have a multitude of sources confirming and basically telling people, hold on, it's coming. And I know a lot of people are hyped for this showcase because they really want to see what's happened. I know the last showcase, I was a little wary about the frame rate. The frame rate seemed a little bit rough. However, that might have been on the consoles. They might have just been running at a 30 FPS mode or even a 60 FPS mode, maybe to showcase the graphics. And now with consoles, a lot of people play at that 30 FPS and they do enjoy that. I don't really know how, but some people do. And for PC, a lot of us guys like to run at a higher frame rate. So I really hope we can see either some PC footage or either some higher fidelity or even higher FPS footage from the console so we can see how it really does play out. But we have this word here from Andy Robinson, who is a much more credible source, who says, I hear the announcement for Starfield Showcase is imminent. Now, this is a much more credible source, but we also have another source even backing that one, and that was on the podcast just yesterday. It was just streamed yesterday, and that is the Rond Althor 19 podcast, and Jez Corden was on this podcast, and Jez is actually a very reputable guy. He's got a lot of stuff right. He's really called out the GOG fake release date. We talked about that in our last video with the GOG potential release date. He even called that out, so he does have some connects, and he even mentioned in that podcast that his connects also told him that the Starfield showcase was happening sometime soon.
I've heard they might be announcing the Starfield Direct next week, which lines up with what I've heard previously too. And then I said, let's tease it tomorrow.
And if you got multiple people from multiple different sources, and a lot of these guys have their inside people, and they're hearing it, hey, yeah, we're really about to show this off, I feel like we're going to get a very, very big deep dive into this game. Like, this is not going to just be a showcase gameplay trailer. I feel like they're really going to dig in this time and get ready for that release and kind of hype people up for the release. So I hope we do see some really, really extensive and exclusive content. Again, I know people in my last video were saying that, oh, I don't know about this one. I really do think that we are going to see a fully overview showcase of this game. They're really going to lay it down because they've been working on this game for a really long time. In fact, I even had comments in my last video, and I need to double check it, but they said that they were working on it even during Fallout 76. So this game's been in development for such a long time that it really does probably have this like very, very, very extensive history to it and gameplay and mechanics, you know, especially because these guys haven't released the game since Fallout 76. It's been pretty quiet and MIA, and a lot of the Fallout 76 stuff, they were like, it's kind of our side studio or our side people working on it. So this is their big, big project that they've been working on for a really long time, and even going as far back as the 2018 leaks. It has got to be good with this one because people have been waiting for this one, and Elder Scrolls 6 doesn't seem like it's coming out anytime soon. So we gotta hope for this one to be big, or at least if we want good games. You know, I think the AAA industry has just kind of had this like laxed effort lately, and it would be really, really nice to just see a good game pop off. And I've always been a supporter of Bethesda as far back as Oblivion, and some people like Morrowind. I never got to play Morrowind, but I loved Oblivion. You know, people always praise Skyrim as like the main ordeal. I think Skyrim was okay. I think Oblivion was a better game, but then we can leave that up for debate later. I just really do think that Bethesda is a very, very passionate studio, one of the only ones that we have left. And even though people didn't like Fallout 76, I still think it was not a bad game. It was a decent game. It had definite passions and qualities there. And it was these guys' first times working on multiplayer. It was a little bit rough on that side, but the game had a lot of passion to it, and it's unfortunate to see the kind of launch that game had. So I really hope that Starfield has a decent launch, especially with all the delays that Starfield's already had, all the rumored launches that never happened. But it does really look like we will get the showcase next week, as Jez and Rand's word goes a lot farther than the Odell guys yesterday. But hey, it looks like that guy's got some real credible sources if he's able to figure out and announce it kind of sooner than the main industry guys, it looks like he might have somebody inside. Maybe just a lucky guess. I know a lot of people are talking about the different dates, June and March and all of that. A lot of people still think that it could come out in March, although I don't think so. I think the showcase would have been a lot sooner. I think we would have gotten gameplay trailers and all of that stuff would have been way sooner in time. Although June does feel pretty far out, especially if they're already showcasing the game now. Man, who knows? And if we want to add the icing on the cake for sources, we do have another one, which is Nate Drake of Recitera. And he also responded on a forum post of the tweet itself, linking the other tweet saying that the showcase would be happening sometime soon. He responded with, "Indeed." So it's definitely happening. It's definitely happening. But we're going to see a showcase sometime next week. And I'm pretty excited about it because I know Starfield is super hyped up. Again, Bethesda being the RPG classic guys. Really hope they bring that passion back to the industry so we can see what a real RPG is like. I know a lot of people had the controversy of Hogwarts Legacy and that game not really being an RPG. Some people arguing that it is. I don't think it is at all. I think it's an open world adventure. Especially if Cyberpunk had to relabel itself to open world adventure. And Cyberpunk had way more elements in one quest than all of Hogwarts Legacy did on the entire game. It's not an RPG if you just pick a house badge, throw on some clothing, and yada yada yada. It's a linear story, not really an RPG. At least in my opinion. I know there's a lot of debate there with whether something is an RPG or not, but these guys are like the classic ones. They're the guys that made some of the best RPGs, in fact, probably the best RPG in the world, which in my opinion would be Oblivion. I think that was a just all-around best game. Has everything anybody can need, and it's literally Skyrim but better. At least in my opinion. You know, a lot of people are like very Skyrim fans, but Oblivion and Morrowind are just better games. In fact, when I talk about Oblivion, I got a buddy that tells me Morrowind was better. They both were really good games. These guys are the classics, and so I hope that they can bring an actual true RPG to the industry and show up these Hogwarts Legacy and all these other people that, listen, this is what an RPG is. But that could be some copium, especially with how Bethesda's been lately. We really don't know how the studio has been able to handle things. Although, with the latest Microsoft acquisition, they haven't had to worry about financials as much, and hopefully Microsoft isn't pushing on them the contracted worker stuff like they did with 343, because we know what happened there when they outsourced the entire game. I got a video on my channel if you want to check that out. 343 basically outsourced the entire game. That game's over 80% outsourced. Nothing is done in-house, essentially. They just had everybody do everything else. So hopefully Bethesda's still very in-house with stuff, and everything's collaborated together, because when you look at things and you look at the newer games of today and you piece things together, you're like, wow, did a different team work on this section of the game? Because this section's really good, but this section is kind of lackluster. So hopefully that's not the case with Starfield, and I don't think it will be. But that does about cover it, and if you enjoyed today's video, I'd appreciate a like and subscribe, and until the next one, deuce.